Rolling blackouts may have been suspended for about 9 hours today, but they're definitely here to stay. Blackouts have been costing businesses, hospitals and households in an already struggling economy. The embattled Eskom utility cannot sustain its diesel bill either. So what happens to hospitals and other network providers who have to keep generators running for hours on end? Well, to answer that and more, we've got energy analyst Chris Yelland, who joins us this morning. Chris, thank you very much for your time this morning. Let's start with that 9-hour suspension by Eskom. Is it even worth it, given that they'll be giving us an update this afternoon about blackouts that they will be implementing from the evening?
Yeah, it is very unsettling to move from stage 4 load shedding yesterday and last night and then have it suspended completely this morning and then reinstated at some level which we don't quite know yet, sometime this afternoon at 5 o'clock. Yeah, it's very unsettling. I don't know exactly what the pressures are, to do this, but the point is that they say they have recovered their water dam levels in the pumped water storage schemes. What they haven't done, of course, is restored the levels of diesel in the open cycle gas turbines. Now, I'm not sure whether this is simply because Eskom has run out of diesel or whether they can't afford to buy more diesel, as was indicated by the COO last week at a media briefing. I have actually tried to ask these questions of Eskom, have they actually run out? If so, when is the ship arriving and docking in Mossel Bay and Cape Town to replenish the diesel stocks, and where they're going to get the money to pay for this additional diesel, because Eskom has indicated that they don't have the money. So these are unanswered questions still. I do know that I've sent the questions to Eskom before 8 o'clock this morning. They have read the questions, but unfortunately they haven't answered me yet.
Let's look at that particular issue of diesel, Chris. And should it be the case that Eskom actually just can't afford to replenish those turbines worth of diesel? What are we looking at in terms of blackouts? Because the other forms that help the utility can only do so much. So could we find ourselves plunging beyond a stage 4? Just on your analysis, should there be a problem of affordability?
Yeah, look, if they have not replenished the diesel stocks today, and they're not going to, it means that the load shedding on Monday is going to be at least 2 stages worse than it would have been had the diesel open cycle gas turbines been available for service. So it's going to have a very negative impact next week if they haven't, and we know that they haven't replenished the diesel stocks yet. So, it's going to be very disruptive. And of course, it's not only Eskom's diesel usage, which of course is very, very high, but throughout the entire economy, buildings and offices and factories and even homes have got diesel and petrol standby generators. If you were to go into Sandton city, during load shedding hours, the rumble of generators from every single building in Sandton, is very audible all around you. And it applies to buildings and hospitals and SABC and all kinds of installations that require, electricity continuously and have to run on standby generators.
And we spoke to on that note, Chris, we spoke to the CEO of Life Healthcare earlier on in the week, and he said the initiatives around renewables such as solar, wind energy and so on are very noble and are important for the climate crisis that we are facing. But in reality, the most reliable form at this stage is the usage of diesel. They're spending about 8 million rand in 1 month to replenish their diesel stock across their hospitals. And I just want to get your thoughts on that particular line in terms of reliability of alternative sources of power and sources like solar and wind not necessarily being the most reliable at this stage.
No, I think it's wrong to say that solar and wind and energy storage are not reliable. But let us put it clearly. First of all, things like diesel generators are notoriously unreliable. First of all, they run out of diesel. Second of all, they are mechanical equipment with lots of moving parts, and they're prone to break down, and they need a lot of maintenance. The solar PV and battery storage system is very, very reliable in terms of its equipment. The thing that makes diesel important really is not so much its reliability, but the fact that it can provide long-term storage. So, a solar PV system and battery storage may provide usefully backup of 4 to 6, even 8 hours. But beyond that, one needs to look to other sources. So I would suggest to hospitals and buildings, etc., to do perhaps a combination of both. The least cost option is solar PV and battery storage. That can see you through for 4 to 6 hours, depending on the size of the battery and the size of your PV system. And then beyond that, you may use a very expensive and, I must say, unreliable diesel generator compared to solar and battery.
No, thank you very much for those insights. Energy analyst Chris Yelland joining us this morning. Of course, Life Healthcare indicating that they do indeed have a combination of both alternative sources to help them when the country is plunged into those blackouts.